Picture the United States in the early 19th century, a young nation grappling with deep-seated regional differences. It was a time of expansion, innovation, but also growing discord. The roots of the Civil War, one of the darkest chapters in American history, can be traced back to this era, as the nation struggled to reconcile its ideals with its realities. Imagine two distinct regions, the North and the South, each with its own unique economic and social fabric. The North, characterized by burgeoning industries, urbanization, and a rapidly growing population, was a stark contrast to the largely agrarian South, where the economy was heavily reliant on a single crop: cotton. This economic disparity sowed seeds of discontent, as the South felt increasingly marginalized by the North's industrial might. But this was more than a regional economic rivalry. It was a clash of ideologies. The question of states' rights versus federal authority was another significant fault line. The South championed states' rights, believing that the individual states should have the power to determine their own laws and regulations. The North, on the other hand, advocated for a strong central government that could create uniform policies across the nation. This ideological tug-of-war further deepened the divide between the two regions. Yet, at the heart of these disputes, was the moral conflict surrounding slavery. The South, with its economy rooted in plantation agriculture, saw slavery as an essential institution. The North, however, was increasingly influenced by the abolitionist movement, viewing slavery as a gross violation of human rights. This profound moral disagreement over slavery became the most potent and divisive issue, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. By 1860, these tensions had reached a boiling point, setting the stage for a bitter conflict that would shape the nation's future. The stage was set, and the actors were ready. The curtain was about to rise on the American Civil War, a war that would test the very fabric of the United States and redefine the nation's path forward. April 12, 1861, a day that would forever be etched in history as the start of the American Civil War. The dawn of that fateful day saw the Confederate forces launch an attack on Fort Sumter, a Union stronghold in South Carolina. This marked the first military action of the war, and it sent shockwaves through the nation. The Union was forced to surrender Fort Sumter after a grueling 34-hour bombardment, marking an early victory for the Confederates. Following this event, a wave of secession swept across the southern states. 11 states in total, from Virginia to Texas, broke away from the Union to form the Confederate States of America. They were driven by a desire to preserve their way of life, which they felt was under threat from the North's industrial and political dominance. The early years of the war saw several significant military campaigns. The First Battle of Bull Run, also known as the First Battle of Manassas, was the initial major land battle of the American Civil War. The Confederates, under the command of Generals Joseph E. Johnston and P.G.T. Beauregard, managed to send the Union forces into a chaotic retreat. It was a stark wake-up call for the North, highlighting the strength and determination of the Confederate Army. This period was also marked by the Battle of Antietam, one of the bloodiest single-day battles in American history. While the battle ended in a tactical draw, it gave President Abraham Lincoln the opportunity to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared that all slaves in Confederate-held territory were to be set free. This move added a moral dimension to the war, making it a fight not just for the Union, but for the freedom of millions of people. Despite early victories, the Confederates soon found themselves fighting a war on multiple fronts. The war was far from over, and the Confederates would soon come to realize that their initial successes were just the beginning of a long, arduous struggle. As the war progressed, several key events would shift the tide in favor of the Union. One of these pivotal moments was the Emancipation Proclamation, signed by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1, 1863. This document declared that all enslaved people in Confederate-held territory were to be set free. Not only did this give the North a moral cause to rally around, but it also deprived the South of vital labor forces and potential soldiers. Then came the Battle of Gettysburg, fought from July 1 to 3, 1863. This was the largest and deadliest battle of the American Civil War, with over 50,000 casualties on both sides. However, it was the Union that emerged victorious, turning back the Confederate invasion of the North. The battle was a turning point because it halted the Confederate advance and boosted Union morale. Simultaneously, another significant event was unfolding in the West, the Siege of Vicksburg. This 47-day siege, from May 18 to July 4, 1863, saw the Union forces, led by General Ulysses S. Grant, take control of the Mississippi River. This strategic victory effectively split the Confederacy in two and denied them a crucial supply route. Each of these events played a critical role in shifting the momentum of the war. The Emancipation Proclamation undermined the South's economic and military resources. The Battle of Gettysburg dealt a severe blow to the Confederates' morale and their hopes of foreign recognition. And the Siege of Vicksburg divided the Confederacy, crippling their ability to move resources and communicate effectively. It's important to note that war is never a simple sequence of events. It's a complex tapestry of victories and defeats, of strategies and blunders, of bravery and sacrifice. But in the grand scheme of the American Civil War, these turning points marked a significant shift. They tilted the balance of power towards the Union, setting the stage for their eventual victory. With these victories, the Union gained a strategic advantage that would prove difficult for the Confederacy to overcome. In the final stages of the war, the fate of the Confederacy was sealed. It all began with the fall of Richmond, Virginia, the Confederate capital, in early April of 1865. The Union forces under the command of General Ulysses S. Grant succeeded in breaking through the Confederate lines, effectively demolishing the last vestiges of Confederate resistance. Within a week of this significant victory, another pivotal event unfolded: the surrender of General Robert E. Lee at Appomattox Courthouse. On April 9th, Lee met Grant to discuss terms of surrender. The meeting, though brief, marked the end of the Southern states' fight for secession. The Confederacy was defeated, and the Civil War was essentially over. However, just days after this momentous surrender, the country was rocked by another shocking event: the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. On the evening of April 14th, Lincoln was fatally shot at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., plunging the nation into mourning. This tragic event was a jarring conclusion to a war that had already cost so much. In the immediate aftermath of the war, the United States faced the colossal task of healing its wounds and rebuilding its divided nation. This period, known as the Reconstruction era, saw efforts to reintegrate the Southern states into the Union and to define and protect the rights of newly freed African Americans. It was a time of significant social, political, and economic change, fraught with challenges but also filled with hope for a unified future. Thus, a chapter of American history marked by bloodshed and division came to a close, paving the way for a period of rebuilding and reconciliation. The American Civil War, a pivotal period that continues to shape the United States. It was a time when the nation was torn apart, testing the very fabric of its unity and principles. Let's delve deeper into some of the key takeaways we've discussed throughout this journey. The causes of the war were deeply rooted in the economic, social, and political differences between the North and the South. Slavery was at the heart of these differences, with the North advocating for abolition while the South fought to maintain their way of life. This fundamental disagreement eventually led to the secession of the Southern states, igniting the war. Major events of the war, like the Battle of Antietam, the Emancipation Proclamation, and the Gettysburg Address, marked turning points that influenced the course of the conflict. Each event carried significant weight, shifting the tide of the war and the public's perception of it. The aftermath of the war was a time of great change. The Reconstruction era aimed to rebuild the South and integrate former slaves into society. However, it was also a time of great struggle, as the nation grappled with the scars of war and the challenge of redefining its identity. The war's lasting impact on American society and culture is profound. It resulted in the abolition of slavery, the strengthening of federal power, and the redefinition of citizenship. Beyond these, it also left an indelible mark on the American psyche, shaping our understanding of freedom, equality, and nationhood. The American Civil War was more than just battles and political maneuvers. It was a clash of ideals, a struggle for what America was and what it could be. It serves as a stark reminder of the cost of division and the power of unity. Remember, the American Civil War was not just a conflict of armies, but a clash of ideals that still resonate today. If you found this video informative, do give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe for more historical insights.